Stelter, CNN senior media correspondent, host of Reliable Sources, has been all over the story. Also joined by former White House political director Matt Schlapp and Democratic strategist Angela Rye. So welcome all of you, and let's just get to, as we called it last hour, the ping pong match here, Donald Trump v. Fox News. So here is the statement that Fox News President Roger Ailes released a short time ago. Let me read this for you in full. Quote, Donald Trump's surprise and unprovoked attack on Megyn Kelly during her show last night is as unacceptable as it is disturbing. Megyn Kelly represents the very best of American journalism, and all of us at Fox News Channel reject the crude and irresponsible attempts to suggest otherwise. He goes on, Donald Trump rarely apologizes, although in this case he should. We have never been deterred by politicians or anyone else attacking us for doing our job, much less allowed ourselves to be bullied by anyone, and we're certainly not going to start now. So, Brian Stelter, to you, that is from Fox. You now have the return volley from Donald Trump.
It was almost like he had a statement ready to send when Ailes sent his or something, but Trump is not apologizing. He says he does not think Megyn Kelly is a quality journalist, but he hopes to be proven wrong, he says, in the future. He said, I totally disagree with the Fox statement. I do not think Megyn Kelly is a quality journalist. I think her questioning of me, he's referring to the debate, of course, despite all of the polls saying I won the debate, was very unfair. Hopefully in the future I'll be proven wrong and she'll be able to elevate her standards, basically, to a level of professionalism that a network like Fox deserves. That's Trump's response. Of course, he'll say more tonight as in Iowa. I'm sure he'll continue to address this. But as a source said to me this afternoon, Brooke, we're in completely uncharted territory here. The #1 channel among Republicans against the #1 Republican candidate for president right now. It's an extremely delicate situation for Fox and for Megyn Kelly. She'll continue to hit the high road, I think, and avoid commenting.
Absolutely.
But now we know Roger Ailes is going to go straight at Trump here. They're going to be covering this on their shows, but I don't think Trump's going to be appearing on their air anytime soon, not if he continues to attack Megyn Kelly like this.
So then, Matt, I mean, you talk about this being the #1 go-to place for Republicans, being Fox News. So, Matt, why, you would think Fox needs Trump, Trump needs Fox. What's to gain by attacking Fox for Trump?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to see. I have to credit Roger Ailes for speaking up aggressively for his for a member of his team, an important member of his team. I think that was quite a strong statement. And Donald Trump, when you take him on, he gives it back to you double. And clearly he thought Megyn Kelly was not balanced with her questions, and clearly he's not over it yet. And does this make any sense? I don't think there's any political consultants in Washington, D.C. who look at this race and see much sense of anything, but it's the way it is, and put your seatbelt on because it's going to be a long ride.
Angela, for Democrats, I mean, is this best for a Hillary Clinton or a Bernie Sanders, or who knows, maybe potentially a Joe Biden to sort of sit there and, Angela, watch, the volley back and forth and not say a darn thing?
Of course. And part of the reason for that, Brooke, is that it's a distraction, right? The interesting thing to me is the reason why Donald Trump is in this race and here to stay is because he has an addiction to winning. He's competitive. That's why he's been a successful business mogul. Now you're seeing the Achilles heel of that same thing, and that is his desire to win this other thing, right? I think initially he thinks the Ailes thing was too soft for him. So now he's got to show that he's a bulldog and, I dare say a bully, and he's coming back after Megyn Kelly to somehow get a win out of this. And I don't know if he's expecting the win from just his Twitter followers or if he thinks that she's going to apologize, but she's not. So I think this is really interesting to kind of watch him unravel, if you will, in this instance. But I think this is
I don't know, though, if he's been unraveling. Let's be real. And when you talk about the numbers, and you see, especially post-debate, he's now in the 30s as far as percentage points. This is
and
not
I don't mean points. I mean, he's literally melting down on Twitter. He's retweeting people that are or have 5 followers. That's what I meant by unraveling, not the numbers. You're right.
I'm with you on that. And when he retweets someone calling Megyn Kelly a bimbo, that's out of line. And journalists and women's groups and men's, everybody should be critical of that. But that said, if people only hear the thumbnail of this story, what they hear is Trump's being tough. And that's his brand, right? That's his brand, its identity, Trump being tough. So maybe to some degree this does help him. But I'm reminded of what Roger Ailes' father taught him. Roger Ailes, now the head of Fox News. Well, 50 years ago, his father said to him, don't pick fights with people who like to fight. Ailes usually says that to his rivals, to his enemies. Don't pick a fight with me because I like to fight. Problem is, Trump likes to fight too. It's almost like Ailes and Trump have met their match.
That's interesting. And I was talking to Bob Cusack last hour from The Hill, and he was saying really the most powerful thing in politics is a counterpunch. Brian Stelter, I'm going to let you go. You two stick with me. I want to continue this conversation because talking about punching and toughness, now you see the toughness. The last couple of times we've seen Jeb Bush, most memorable yesterday in McAllen, Texas, really responding and punching back to Donald Trump. And then you had, the senior senator from South Carolina, Lindsey Graham, today talking to my colleague Kate Baldwin, responding, listen, he isn't doing great in the poll in South Carolina, but this is what he said about Donald Trump.
Come to South Carolina, and I'll beat his brains out. I know my state. This is a silly season in politics. He is shallow. He's ill-prepared to be commander-in-chief. He doesn't know what he's talking about in terms of how our laws work. He says the worst things possible about immigrants and women, and he's a complete idiot when it comes to Mideast policy. So I think over time, common sense will prevail. He's a showman. He's really good at that.
Showman, idiot. I mean, Matt, yes, this is a senator whose personal cell phone was, told to the world by Donald Trump. And so now we're continuing to see the true punches. It seems to me we're entering a new phase. Matt.
Yeah, it's getting awfully personal among some of these candidates. And, I think some of them are doing it tactically because it's very hard to get media coverage in the midst of all this. There's a lot of coverage for Jeb Bush. There's a lot of coverage for Jeb Bush versus Donald Trump, even Donald Trump versus Megyn Kelly. So what do you do if you're one of these other 15 candidates? You got to do something. Some of them are choosing to attack Donald Trump. Some of them are choosing to emulate Donald Trump. Lindsey Graham, clearly, he's a little defensive over the fact that in that South Carolina poll, he does so much, worse than Donald Trump, and Donald Trump's having some fun with him. I wish Lindsey Graham wouldn't take the bait.
Well, I was talking to Lindsey Graham earlier today before he went on to talk to Kate. He was saying, and here you see the numbers here from South Carolina, he was saying it is absolutely time to punch back. He was not just talking about himself, but also the Jeb Bushes of the world, and said, basically, heaven forbid that Americans start to think that Donald Trump belongs under the same Republican tent from the rest of that field.
And he does. Look, he does. Donald Trump is a legitimate candidate for president, and people like Lindsey Graham ought to stop saying that he's not legitimate. He is. Take him on the issues. That's what matters.
Final word from you, Angela?
Yeah, I totally agree. He is somehow legitimate, and I think that says a lot about the state of the Republican Party. They have a lot to do, and he's certainly not going to help with that big tent outreach plan that they were hoping for earlier on.
Angela Rye, Matt Schlapp, thank you, and Brian Stelter, thank you.